Look at this map of the major professional sports franchises in the San Francisco Bay Area. Now here's the same map from 2020. And here it is from 2010. The changes are hard to ignore. It's all over the place, isn't it? Over the past decade, the Bay Area sports landscape has been in constant motion. The Raiders bolted for Nevada, the Warriors left Oakland for San Francisco, and the Athletics have already packed up for their move to Las Vegas. Even the 49ers, one of the NFL's most iconic franchises, no longer play in the city they represent. Teams moving isn't unique to the Bay Area, but the frequency and nature of these moves raise an interesting question. Is there something about this region that makes it easier for teams to relocate? On the surface, this doesn't make sense. The Bay Area is home to over 7.7 million people, it has a strong economy, and it's one of the most tech-driven, high-income regions in the world. Sports are simply a huge part of the local culture, with there being dedicated fan bases that have filled stadiums for decades. So why is it that teams here suddenly feel less rooted compared to other major markets across the country? One factor that stands out is the Bay itself. A massive body of water that separates San Francisco, Oakland, and San Jose into distinct independent hubs. Unlike cities where teams are clustered together, Bay Area sports franchises are spread out and are often playing in entirely different counties. Is this unique geography to blame for the Bay Area's ever-changing sports landscape? Well, sort of. It's not that straightforward though. First of all, let's compare how the Bay Area stacks up against other major metro hubs. Take a look at the layout of professional sports teams in some of the largest cities in the US. In most cases, franchises are clustered together, making it easy for fans to associate themselves with multiple teams playing at the heart of their respective metro areas. In Philadelphia, the Eagles, Phillies, 76ers, and Flyers are all concentrated in the South Philadelphia Sports Complex, with their stadiums and arenas separated by just a few parking lots. Detroit has a similar setup, with the Lions, Tigers, Pistons, and Red Wings all playing within a few blocks of each other downtown. You can see this pattern within Boston too. The Red Sox, Celtics, and Bruins are each located in the heart of the city. Even in sprawling metro areas like Los Angeles and New York, where teams are more spread out, fans can still move between venues relatively easily. In LA, you can travel between Dodger Stadium, Crypto.com Arena, BMO Stadium, SoFi Stadium, and the Intuit Dome in just about 30 minutes. This drive alone covers 7 different professional franchises. And in New York City, with teams relatively dispersed, the extensive public transit system makes it easy for fans throughout the 5 boroughs and beyond to reach games. Now compare that to the Bay Area. At its peak, the region was home to 7 professional teams across 5 major leagues, but unlike other metro areas, these teams weren't concentrated into one city. Instead, they were scattered around 3 different corners of the region, each with its own identity. San Francisco had the Giants and 49ers, Oakland had the Athletics, Raiders, and Warriors, and San Jose had the Sharks and Earthquakes, who are still tucked away in Santa Clara County to this day. Even their names were inconsistent, reflecting just how vast and divided the Bay Area truly is. While most teams in major metro areas are clearly tied to a single city, Bay Area franchises have identified with different parts of the region, except for the Golden State Warriors, who took the broadest approach possible. All of this highlights the impressive sprawl across the area, and the major elephant in the room that's causing this is San Francisco Bay. Unlike other metro areas where teams are concentrated within a single urban core, the San Francisco Bay forces fans to cross bridges, drive long distances, or take unreliable transit systems just to see their team. Would a fan in Santa Clara County feel as connected to a team in San Francisco as someone in LA would to a team on the other side of their metro area? And when a team moves across the Bay, does an Oakland fan still feel the same loyalty, or does distance create a disconnect? There's obviously no one-size-fits-all answer. The Bay Area clearly has a strong sports culture, but its geography shapes fandom differently than in centralized hubs. I want to hear from you though, so if you're from the region, let me know in the comment section below if where you live in the area dictates which team you support, or how frequently you attend games. Because from the outside looking in, that massive body of water dividing over 7 million people feels impossible to ignore. But how much of a role did that natural barrier really play in the instability of Bay Area franchises? To understand why so many teams have moved around and out, we need to look at what's really driving these decisions. For decades, teams in the Bay Area have fought for new stadiums and arenas, and in many cases, those fights have ended in relocation. After years of seeking a modern stadium, the Raiders left for Las Vegas in 2020 when the city of Oakland couldn't meet their demands. the Athletics faced a similar battle with years of stalled negotiations over a waterfront ballpark at Howard Terminal. When talks collapsed, they followed the Raiders out the door in 2024. Not every team left the region entirely, but even the ones that stayed still moved away from their original homes. The Warriors, one of the most beloved and successful teams in Oakland, weren't struggling with attendance or fan support, but they saw an opportunity to tap into San Francisco's wealthier market in a brand new, money-generating arena. Instead of waiting for Oakland to fund an upgrade, they privately financed Chase Center, which led to them moving across the bay for a more lucrative future in 2019. And then there's the 49ers. Their move to Santa Clara in 2014 was a compelling case of a team leaving its namesake city for a better stadium deal. When San Francisco couldn't commit to funding a badly needed new home, the 49ers found an alternative in Santa Clara. The move kept them in the region, but it distanced them from the city they technically represent. I've already made a video covering this saga, so if you're interested, you should watch it when you're done here. Also, feel free to check out stadium map posters and more at mapify.com. So anyways, in the span of just 10 years, the region saw 4 franchises relocate. But there's a common thread tying all of these moves together. Failed stadium negotiations. For the most part, these weren't just about attendance or market size. The Bay Area is more than capable of supporting teams. But when local governments and ownership groups failed to come to terms on new venues, franchise owners looked elsewhere. In Oakland's case, it meant losing 3 teams. And for the 49ers and Warriors, it meant finding new homes within the region. Besides other markets, where teams are closely tied to a single city, the Bay Area's fragmented layout gives franchises a level of mobility that isn't as easily replicated elsewhere. With separate economic hubs in San Francisco, Oakland, and San Jose, teams have the flexibility to seek out better stadium deals without fully severing ties to their region. The 49ers and Warriors are prime examples of this. Both moved to more financially favorable locations within their region, securing stronger economic advantages while drastically changing the connection for many of its local fans. This tactic isn't new to the area. It's been a viable strategy for franchises to use for decades. A great example of this is the territorial rights dispute between the A's and the Giants, which ultimately played a role in Oakland losing its baseball team. In 1990, with the Giants struggling to secure a new stadium, the Athletics granted their rival exclusive rights to Santa Clara County, hoping that if the Giants moved to the South Bay, it would shift more baseball fans based in San Francisco towards the A's. It was a strategic attempt to expand their fan base while keeping both teams in the region. However, the Giants never relocated, and instead they built a new stadium in San Francisco, all while keeping their territorial claim intact. Years later, when the A's wanted to move to San Jose, the Giants refused to relinquish their rights, leaving Oakland without a viable stadium option. In a twist of fate, a move intended to protect Bay Area baseball ended up exposing how teams consistently leverage the region's fragmented metro area to their advantage. This is something most teams in other cities wouldn't be able to do, but in the Bay Area, teams can shift within the metro using its divided landscape to their advantage. For team owners, this decentralization creates leverage. If one city won't fund a stadium, another one within the area might, but that flexibility comes at a cost. While some areas benefit from new venues and economic investment, others like Oakland are left behind. And this shows how the Bay Area geography doesn't quite dictate team relocations, but it certainly makes them easier to justify. So is the Bay Area's unique geography truly to blame for reshuffling its franchises? It may not have forced these teams to relocate, but in an indirect way, it was influential. Oakland was at the center of these departures, and in each case, the city couldn't fulfill the demands of the franchises, all while nearby locations, whether across the bay or in an entirely different state, offered better financial opportunities. This could be seen as a failure by Oakland city officials or neglect from the team owners, but either way, it's a common pattern seen across North American sports. Additionally, not all moves were equally disruptive. The Warriors' relocation from Oakland to San Francisco, while frustrating for East Bay fans, was at least manageable in terms of accessibility. A short BART ride or a drive across the Bay Bridge still keeps them within reach for most Oakland-based fans. But the 49ers' shift to Santa Clara was a much bigger leap. The team's home is now 40 miles south of San Francisco, and while the move is still criticized today, the NFL's limited home schedule makes it more forgiving. Fans only have to make the trek a handful of times per year. Because of this layout, Bay Area sports fandom has always been relatively localized. You're far more likely to find Sharks fans in San Jose than in San Francisco, just as Giants fans are naturally more concentrated on the peninsula than in South Bay. Driving from San Jose to San Francisco can take an hour or more, so it's no surprise that certain fan bases have stronger footholds in specific parts of the region. As already established, in most metro areas, this kind of decentralization doesn't exist. But in the Bay Area, where geography naturally creates divisions, fandom tends to consolidate in pockets rather than across the entire region. So while geography wasn't the reason these teams moved, it does shape the way Bay Area fans experience sports. Despite these shifts, Oakland is adapting. The city is repurposing the Coliseum for housing, businesses, and entertainment, prioritizing local residents over franchise demands. Meanwhile, Oakland Roots SC and Oakland Soul are keeping the local sports culture alive through community-driven teams. Instead of relying on major league franchises, Oakland is embracing grassroots sports and sustainable development to define its future. Plus, although the Bay Area's sports landscape has changed dramatically over the past decade, that doesn't mean this trend will continue. The past 10 years were turbulent, and shifting market opportunities all came to a head at the same time. But now, with the major moves seemingly settled, the region isn't likely to see another wave of relocations anytime soon. Geography alone may not explain why these teams left, but it highlights the challenges that come with operating in a market as spread out as this one. These challenges run fairly deep. There's more to the A's-Giants territorial standoff than just legal boundaries and stadium deals. It's a story that reveals how a temporary agreement quietly evolved into a long-term roadblock that reshaped some loyalties across the South Bay. The public narrative focused on ownership squabbles and relocation talks, but behind the scenes, something else happened. A growing number of fans in the South Bay began turning away from the Giants, all because of the very move that was meant to help them. And that dynamic wasn't limited to baseball. Across sports, the rivalry between Oakland and San Francisco wasn't really driven by the teams. Most of the time, they weren't even in the same league or conference. It was actually the fans who kept that rivalry alive. It became less about standings and more about civic pride. That tension between East Bay grit and San Francisco polish created matchups that didn't carry much on paper, but always felt like they mattered. There's a lot to unpack here, and if you want to go deeper into how these stories evolved, I've put together a behind-the-scenes breakdown that walks through all of it. It's a detailed look at how the video you're watching came together, along with stories within the region that couldn't quite make it into the final cut. You can watch it right now along with all future Mapify videos early and ad-free if you sign up for Nebula. It's a top-quality video platform that's home to hundreds of creators covering various genres including the likes of Johnny Harris, Real Life Lore, and Wendover Productions, who cover maps, history, and geopolitics with the same kind of thoughtful storytelling that inspired this channel from the very beginning. Right now, you can sign up using my link and get 40% off Nebula. That's just $3 a month or $36 for the whole year. To start watching, head to go.nebula.tv/Mapify or scan the QR code on screen. If you're someone who loves the deeper layers behind sports, geography, and storytelling, this is something you'll definitely want to check out. As always, give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching.